even the latest generation phones because they want an even smaller screen than what's on the market today.
I guess it's whatever you're comfortable with, right? I think any of these devices are absolutely fantastic as long as you're used to it. The first device you play Vainglory on is probably one you're going to stick with.
That's often the case. All right, so for Hammers Velocity, Fuji, if you were in their corner going into the draft of this pivotal best of 5 here, what would you be telling them? It just more of the same, or would you want to see something different?
I think because it's a best of 5, they should not show anything quite too different or new that didn't already get them to here in the first place. They need to rest assured that their strategies so far have worked very well. They're here for a reason. So I would start off easily with very similar draft styles. You already know what TSM's been favoring so far. Let TSM make the first move if it comes to something very unique or specific.
And Zekan, if that happens, like if TSM does another crazy surprise pick that they've practiced, like that CP Jungle Finn, what do you do if you're Hammers Velocity? Do you stay the course, or do you have to scramble on the fly to try to adapt for something coming in?
I think especially in a best of 5, staying the course is actually fairly effective because you'll know what they have to throw out the next time around. And if you weather it and if you are able to take the win, it's great. If you take a loss, that's okay. It's something to watch out for next game.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that TSM, they probably have enough looks prepared to get through all the way through the best of 5.
Yeah, I mean, at least. But I would have to say, you know, I picked TSM to be in the finals. I believe Playoff Beard picked Velocity in the finals. Who do you think is going to take the whole thing?
Oh, putting me on the spot. Why don't we let Zekan be the tiebreaker?
Ooh, this is going to be a tough one. Honestly, I want to root for Hammers this time around. They're technically the underdogs, and I love rooting for the underdog.
All right. It's a rare case when the current reigning champions are the underdog, but they certainly are here. And Lance coming off the board, that's interesting. That's more like just biding time, leaving strong picks on the board, since that's not a signature pick of Velocity.
It's not a signature pick of Velocity, but TSM places priority on this pick regardless of who they're going against. They actually, I believe, have banned Lance on A-side in every single game they have been A-side this tournament, so they do bring out the Samuel, though. If that goes to Von-C, we remember how that went last time.
What do you think about this Samuel and Adagio, Zekan?
I think this is actually a very interesting matchup because Adagio does have a very high sustain, and if he is able to push Samuel out of his Drifting Dark Cloud, then Adagio completely wins that matchup. But TSM has proven that they're extremely capable of keeping Von-C in that cloud.
Yeah, absolutely, and Von-C likely to take that Samuel to jungle, but it is a flex, and that's what TSM loves to do, leave flex picks open. It's really been a very interesting storyline in this tournament that FlashX has gone to Arden over and over and over, a pick we didn't expect to see this much.
That's very true, and I do expect Ataka to come out on Velocity's side here once you see the Sky and Samuel, both squishier heroes. Ataka does love to go in, but we do see the Finn on Aloha.
Everybody gets what they want, except maybe Best Chuck NA would prefer to have that Adagio. Aloha on that Finn, where he's most comfortable moving over to the roam position. It's going to be interesting. This is a best of 5. This is our grand finals, and to give us this game with the call, it's Humanist and Action Jackson.
Thank you very much, Playoff Beard. It's finals time, baby. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Velocity, formerly champions of the spring season. Team Solo Mid, formerly champions of the winter season. Either one of these teams could be the first in North America to take 2 championship titles.
Absolutely nuts. These teams have prepared. They've worked for so long to be here, and I'm sure they're absolutely fired up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for your finalists, Team Solo Mid and Hammers Velocity.
All right. We're out here on the floor. I think this is going to be a very interesting lane matchup here. The Adagio going up against the Sky. You're looking to have the forward barrage from range. Otherwise, Adagio should be winning this lane.
Yeah, Adagio so strong at these early game lane situations. Very easy for him normally to force people out, but we have seen Zio, for example, shut old school's Adagio down in lane. It's certainly something the Best Chuck could maybe do. Both the jungle pairs near the shop, but not wanting to start off a fight just yet. In the grand finals, there's got to be some nerves here. You don't want to pick a fight too early.
Yeah, but these guys, they're professionals. They've been here before. They're champions, like you said. So maybe not the nerves, but definitely a little bit of pressure.
All right, Von-C and FlashX moving up towards the lane. Zio is actually already very low. He could go down. First blood of the finals coming across onto Von-C. Team Solo Mid got to be feeling good about that early pickup.
Oh, you know they're feeling good about that. But that's the level 2 power out of Samuel. You hit that power spike, you get in there, you look for the kills, and they landed those skill shots.
All right, perfect rotation early on from Team Solo Mid, but Gabe Vizzle is answering at least somewhat, going for these back camps to stop Team Solo Mid from pulling too far ahead early on. Aloha now making his way up towards the lane. He just needs to babysit Zio, make sure he doesn't struggle too much early on.
Yeah, definitely. A bit of babysitting, but you imagine, like, they definitely want Zio to stand his own ground, to do as much as possible so that he can get into the jungle and make a little pressure happen.
Oh, Gabe Vizzle gets spotted out here. Flash X, Vonsi, Chuck, they're all nearby. He's got to be careful. That's the Malice and Verdict doing some good damage. Gabe Vizzle trying to get behind Aloha. The forward barrage not going to connect. Now Aloha in a bad spot. He could be going down. The damage isn't there from Vonsi. He misses the Malice and Verdict. Aloha just barely able to get out alive.
The poke from range is actually crazy out of TSM. If they're using Forward Barrage from max range as well as the Malice and Verdict, it's going to be so hard for Velocity to try to trade.
All right, we're not seeing anything too crazy just yet from these players. Itemization, fairly standard. You can see weapon blades on Best, Chuck and A, and Gabe Vizzle. Zio looking towards that alternating current. Vonsi got those 2 crystal bits. It's going to be a little bit longer until we see which pass exactly these guys are going down. Worth noting, though, that in the lane, farm-wise, Zio is actually up a decent amount. Even with that wave pushing in, he's going to be up a little bit, regardless of that death early.
Yeah, you imagine that's how it's going to play out. And I think the biggest thing for Best Chuck here is just make sure he's not burning down from that Gift of Fire. And if you are, you're not trading blows with Zio at that point.
All right, Team Solo Mid making their way back towards this jungle camp yet again. Aloha has been spotted out, but he should be able to just back away here. Gabe Vizzle, he's going in to this 1 versus 2 situation. This is a very bold move, Humanist. I don't know if he's going to get out of this one. Malice and Verdict just one more time needs to connect. Gabe, look at his health right now. He went under 50. Vonsi with the heroic perk finds the kill. Zio, he might be going down as well. Vonsi right under the turret. He's got to be careful. Oh, Zio doesn't go down. A return kill to Velocity. Vonsi went 2 deep.
I don't know if that's Zio making the win.
What? Going in by himself, flying solo under that turret, picking up a kill.
Yeah, maybe not there at the same time as Vonsi, but he'll get that revenge kill. Flash getting in there deep, and I like to see those plays.
Gabe, I don't think he's going to be able to catch up to this one. Doesn't have the X Retsu to close that gap just yet. It is going to be the 3-for-1. Team Solo Mid leading by a decent margin in the gold sense as well. But Velocity, they're not falling too far behind. Let's have a look at that replay from earlier on.
Yeah, that's the Drifting Dart coming out here, chasing onto Gabe. Gabe just getting out on a sliver of health up towards this turret, but they realize they can dive. Vonsi, one more shot with that Corrupted Genius, easy kill. At that point, Zio just so low, they can bait them forward.
Gabe was down to 31 health at a point during that fight. Absolutely ridiculous. It would have been crazy if he got away. Vonsi making the plays, though. He's trying to steal away some of these camps. Aloha not going to catch him with the Polite Company.
Yeah, and it looks like Gabe going for this build that we've seen a lot coming out. It's going to be the Tension Bow, probably into that Storm Crown, and it's a very unique build, but I think it does lend itself a little more towards the early game.
Yeah, certainly does give you a lot of burst early on, and then later transitions into a little bit of objective control too. Very all-round strong build. Aloha just got to back away here. Look at Team Solo Mid there, really pressuring the jungle of Velocity with the early lead they've accrued.
Yeah, and I think this is exactly what they need to do. You keep that pressure up. If you sense a weakness in your opponent, the worst thing you can do is just sit back and allow them to grind their way back into the game. So TSM, truly professionals here, just applying the pressure.
All right, so Best Chuck, he's going for this weapon power Skye this game. Want to talk to you a little bit about that. It's something we've been seeing so much in the championships after it started to seep into competitive during the EVIL 8. It's really made a strong case for being the superior Skye build in a lot of situations. I'm curious, though, do you think he's going to go for the Shiver Steal that we sometimes see?
Well, I think it's going to depend. If they're getting on top of their targets, if they're having a hard time chasing, then probably Shiver Steal a good choice. But it's really interesting, and I think Gabe Vizzle was one of the players that was making it work and made a great case for it.
Absolutely. Zio up in lane, just going to be harassing down Chuck a little bit. Gabe, he just hit level 6 right now, so this is the opportunity maybe for Velocity to start applying some pressure of their own to Team Solo Mid.
Yeah, let's see if they can do that. That will be the gap-closing ability for this Taka. But you have to remember, they also want this Finn to get his Force to Cord up. If they can do that, start to combo these abilities together, it's going to be quite dangerous.
Aloha still has a ways to go until he hits that level 6. He has just picked up the Fountain, though. Going to help a lot in these skirmishes. Zio also not hitting that level 6 mark just yet, so they don't have the Verse either. Velocity playing it safe for the time being.
You see Best Chuck actually starting to pull ahead quite a large lead in this. Yeah, 68 to the 57 of Zeo. So I think Zeo definitely wants to take control of this lane just a little bit more.
Flash isn't going to let that happen for free, though. Jumping in there, getting a bit of harassment down. A lot of the roamers right now in this current meta are playing babysitter to their laners. Seems to be very effective. Zeo, you can see how much damage he's taking already. Actually walking to that bush, Flash spots him out. He needs some help here. Zeo is in a very bad position, but the first coming in, it lands on the Von C. Gabe Fizzle cleans up a kill. Best Chuck, he's next on the chopping block. Gabe Fizzle trying to find the kill. He gets it. Team Solo mid. They went 2 deep trying to get onto Zeo, and it has backfired for them. Gabe, he won't get the ace. Von C has just respawned, but still, Velocity tying up the kill score here at 7 minutes.
My goodness, what a fight out of Velocity. I feel like Team Solo Mid almost getting baited into that situation. You see, Von C is coming up from the bottom side of this fight. Zeo's very low. They go for it hard. The gauntlet committed. Von C stunned up, chopped down by Gabe Fizzle, and from there, everything falls apart. Quibble lands. Best Chuck's too low to do anything, leaving Flash to his own devices, and that's an easy cleanup.
All right, so Velocity, they got to be feeling pretty good off the back of picking up that fight win. Certainly after they'd lost 3 kills early on, it can be a bit of a tense situation, especially in the finals. You can see Best Chuck starting to get poked down a little bit in lane 2. Aloha does have the Force to Court if he wants to make a play here.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Best Chuck, you have to be wary knowing exactly where this Taka is on the map. You're sitting that low on health. You got to be careful.
All right, Gabe Fizzle nearly taking a lot of damage there from Von C, but he's just going to Kaku away. I like the fact that he's being very disciplined here, not just going in for a little bit of poke. He knows that a rotation could come in quickly from Best Chuck, so he's got to be careful.
Definitely be careful on both sides. I think right now the whole thing is just trying to get your levels, play as safely as possible, and only really engaging when you see your opponent make a positioning error.
TSM, I mean, they're still even on gold, even after that last fight loss, because of the fact that they were doing very good early on. When it comes to a mid-game fight, 10 to 15 minutes, who do you favor in this game?
Ooh, 10 to 15 minutes in, it's really going to depend, I think, on Best Chuck's item progression. I think you're going to see Team Solo Mid hit huge power spikes at that point. The Sky comboed up with the Sandy.
Oh, Force to Court, that's going to land on the Best Chuck, and hey, look at the damage he's already taking. The Gauntlet coming across from Flash, but Gabe Fizzle's already inside of it. Best Chuck able to kite away just barely. Even without Von C in the fight, they're able to save Chuck's life. Von C now wants to make a play happen, trying to go in here, but Aloha has his number immediately with Polite Company, buying some time for Gabe Fizzle. That's the Oblivion. It lands onto Zeo. Aloha needs to body block right now. Velocity, they're just going to back away.
Yeah, nice trade there. And this is just the mark of a very well-practiced team. They feel like maybe they can get this kill, but they don't commit for it. Back out, they're going to regroup, and they'll go at it when it's a little bit better.
Yeah, I like the fact that Velocity didn't overcommit there. I also like the fact that Von C didn't overcommit there. He's the player you'd expect to in a lot of situations, but really showing a new level of discipline during this championship. Flash X has done a very good job of disciplining him when it comes to the practice.
Flash with the discipline on Von C. You know what's funny was that we talked about it. It almost feels like Von C has adapted to Flash more than Flash telling him exactly what to do. And he said he's really learned in these situations when he can go ham and when he can pull back.
That said, look at Von C right now on a solo mission into the enemy jungle. He is going to be able to get away in the bush, but Gabe nearly able to hunt him down there. Von C playing with fire a little bit.
Well, that's Von C's style. That's why he's a fan favorite. And that's why he's here in the finals. This guy is just a playmaker.
Absolutely. Von C has picked up the Broken Myth now, so he's got a lot of damage in this next fight. Best Chuck, quite close to a breaking point. He's got 2 of the components. Like you said, around this point, the power spikes start to roll in.
Yeah, definitely. And, from where I'm sitting, I do think TSM have more damage output if they're able to get the stacks up on that Broken Myth.
Zeo not able to actually get the Arcane Fire onto Flash there, so Velocity certainly don't want to commit for that. Don't think they're going to be able to pull off a kill. I want to talk about the jungle CS a little bit. It's dead even between Von C and Gabe Fizzle. Even though there's been so much action, they've been doing a good job of keeping up in the farm. It's certainly a situation where Gabe Fizzle is still relevant, at least for the time being, with that tension bow. And actually, looks like he's maybe going towards a fountain. There's going to be a fight kicking off here. Gabe Fizzle, look at that Quibble stun onto Best Chuck NA. Force the Cord, not going to land, but Gabe Fizzle should be able to hunt him down on the other side of the fight. Zeo, very low on health. He's got to be careful of Von C right now, but he's got the heals. He's got the sustain in this exchange to keep the fight going. Von C now just needs to run away. Drifting Dark not available for the next 5 seconds, and Gabe wants to go in. He knows the Oblivion's there. He's going to pick up the kill. Shirley onto Von C, just in time for the Drifting Dark. Now Zeo wants Flash. Flash, can Can he get out of this one? He doesn't have boots available. Zeo just needs a few basic attacks to get himself the kill. Oh, Vanguard at the last second. Flash X styling with the plays.
Wow, Velocity just absolutely dominating these engagements. It's so crazy to see. And you see there are 2 fountains available for Velocity here, but it's Best Chuck just being isolated, chopped down. And right here, Flash will tick on that fountain, but it comes out too little too late as Gabe Vizzle able to chop him down and just go from there. Flash boots up towards the lane. They'll go ahead and leave him as they chase down Von C. And Von C maybe just misreading where he needed to throw that Oblivion just a touch.
It is worth noting, though, that both fountains from the side of Hammer's Velocity were popped simultaneously, so you're not going to get the full effect from those. Let's have a look at the lane right now, though, because Zeo's trying to defend 1 versus 3, but here comes his team. They're going to go in for this one. Zeo, very low on the backside. He actually gets 2 members of TSM pulled on top of him, but still goes in. There's the Verse of Judgment. Death from Love doesn't interrupt it. Best Chuck, he's going to go down. He trades with Zeo, but it's a 2-for-1. Velocity keep on winning these trades, keep on winning the exchanges with TSM.
You know, Jackson, and this is what we were talking about earlier, is fighting around the cooldown on Drifting Dark. Now, that came out before the whole engagement actually happened, so by the time the fight was ending, there was really not much Von C could do to abuse the power of the Samuel.
Von C thinking about going for the gold mine steal here. It's a very bold decision. Drifting Dark popped. He can't quite find it, though. Now Gabe jumping onto the backline, trying to find the kill. Aloha is very low on health, but Von C blocks that second verdict. Now Von C is so low. He can't get it. What?
Oh my goodness.
Man, Von C cannot be happy about that one.
Aloha booting down into the bush just to try and buy a little bit of time and just predicting that Gabe Vizzle would back him up.
Zeo does need to be a little bit careful in the lane, but actually look at the damage. He's trading back on the Best Chuck. Good reflex block. Gabe Vizzle is there to clean up the kill, though. Another trade. This game is extremely high octane. All of a sudden, Humanist.
Yeah, well, these guys are turning it up. They're hitting these power spikes. And, you know, the one thing I think Zeo maybe underestimated the damage output is Best Chuck's breaking point did reach about 11 stacks there, and that's when he started to get the better of this Adagio.
All right, so with Zeo and Best Chuck down, it's just the jungle duo trying to make some plays along the maps, trying to farm up a little bit. Not too many openings, though. Gabe Vizzle, he is 9-for-1 right now, Humanist. This is a player who just transitioned to jungler for Velocity, coming into the championships, not even in the EVE late, just into the championships, and he's already making such a huge name for himself on the role.
You know, it's really cool to see this. I love seeing players transition from one position to another, and not only that, is he playing this at a high level, but he's bringing in aspects of the roam position to this jungle, and it seems that his synergy with Aloha is that much better because of it.
And I really like the fact that he's constantly innovating. We knew that the Stormcrown Tension Bow might come out, but here's a fountain as well on top. That's me the hook. Von C, oh, the reflex block doesn't actually stop it from coming across. Zeo wants the Verse of Judgment, finds the stun on the Von C. That's some good damage. Von C needs to be careful. Fountain just barely keeping him alive for the time being. Best Chuck still very healthy, though. Look at the basic attacks on Zeo and Aloha. Velocity really need to be careful here. They're looking like they might want to go for the fight, though. Flash with the gauntlet does pick up a first kill onto Zeo. This could be bad for Velocity for the first time this game. Really,
This is
Gabe,
disaster
so
for
low.
Velocity.
Give away an ace. They don't take down a single kill. They stuck around way too long.
Way too long. I know that Gabe Vizzle was holding onto a fountain, but they are really underestimating the breaking point stacking up on Best Chuck's weapon-powered Sky right now. It's nuts. Keep an eye on this breaking point. Look, 17, 19, 20 stacks right here, and they're going to turn around as if they can actually fight this. Zeo trying to stand his ground, but getting chopped down. You're stuck within the gauntlet, nowhere to go, and Best Chuck is just eating them alive at this point.
Yeah, and there's nothing Gabe Vizzle could do by himself at the end of that fight. He needs the damage, the sustain, all of the things that Zeo supplies in these fights. Velocity, they are dead even with Team Solo Mid and Gold right now. This is game 1 of the finals, and it is so close.
Yeah, it definitely is. You know, Velocity are trading back and forth, but I start to worry that Zeo will have enough damage output potential when you're looking at how much damage can come out of the Samuel and this weapon Sky.
It's going to be an interesting one. Velocity do spot Team Solo Mid trying to push up the lane a little bit here. Gabe Vizzle looking for an opportunity to go in. He's looking for Von C. Finds that Kaiten. Some good damage immediately. Best Chuck hooked into the middle of the fight, but Zeo is taking a lot right now. He's got to be careful. There's the fountain popped for Velocity. It's keeping Zeo very healthy right now. Zeo swapping targets onto Von C. Von C still full health. Velocity find themselves between a rock and a hard place. They just can't get in position to do the damage to one target. Team Solo Mid, they might take an ace back-to-back 2 times in a row. What happened to Velocity in the last few minutes?
Well, it's just huge power spikes coming out of Team Solo Mid. They're infused. They have Broken Myth on Von-C, Breaking Point on Best Chuck, and in every single one of these fights, these items are stacking up. You see the engage coming in. Gabe Vizzle's looking for Von-C. He does isolate him towards the backside, but they trade over to Best Chuck. That's the shot call made by Velocity, and as they move forward, they can't kill him. Look at Flash with the fountain right here. Perfect momentum. They do have 2 fountains for Velocity, but it's just not enough. The damage is too much coming out of Team Solo Mid at this point, and there's nowhere to run for Gabe Vizzle.
It's so hard to pick a target to focus too, because when Best Chuck and Von-C split up like that, it's very difficult to deal with both of them. And it's arguable, right? Like, who's doing more damage? Who's the bigger threat? To be honest, both are, right?
Well, who's doing more? They both are. I don't know if it all makes sense, but you know what? I think moving in, trying to kill Best Chuck is probably their best option in these fights. And if they can bait out the Drifting Dark and then go in as soon as it drops out, I think that's their best choice. But it's going to be really hard up against this TSM squad right now.
All right, so TSM, off the back of that last play, have secured themselves the Kraken. Only 3 turrets standing for Velocity, and a decent siege composition from TSM could prove problematic here. Velocity really need a good force to core, some kind of a good engagement in order to defend here. You see Kraken still very healthy after even just that first turret. Force to core, oh, it lands on the 3! The burst coming across doesn't land into anyone but Flash, though. Oblivion gets blocked. Gabe Vizzle on the back line trying to find the damage. Zeo could pick up Flash, but is not quite there. Von-C, he's just going ham right now into the back line of Velocity. Aloha goes down. Velocity need to heal in the Sanctuary, but Kraken is still over half health. Gabe Vizzle trying to jump onto the back line. Flash X is going to be the first to go down for Team Solo Mid, but Von-C and Chuck are still there. Zeo, he needs to find the damage. Von-C just barely still alive. He has Drifting Dark. Zeo picks up the kill. Can he kill the Kraken? It actually could be quite close. I don't think he's going to be able to do it in time, Humanist. It's going to be Team Solo Mid just barely right.
Zeo versus Kraken!
Taking down
Zeo
this
versus
big
Kraken!
Crystal.
Zeo!
It's so close.
Zeo!
So close.
It's so close!
Oh my word! Team Solo Mid must have been having flashbacks to winner right there. Velocity, if they could have defended, maybe could have turned the game around, but what a game 1 of the finals.
Absolutely nuts. These guys are coming out. They're playing these new meta picks, that the builds that we've seen come forward. So much power out of both of these lineups. I think the way Velocity did build this game, it lent himself towards a fight that would be extended. 2 fountains, but you're fighting up against a team that has Breaking Point, Broken Myth. So the longer the fight goes, it's actually starting to benefit TSM.
I almost would have liked to see more just damage, right? You need to cut through them before they stack up.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Yeah, just if they had a little more burst, I think that's what they needed there.
It was a very close game, very hard fought from both teams, but Team Solo Mid have taken the first win of the series. That's got to feel really good coming into the grand finals. Velocity need to make something happen in the next couple of games in order to keep this one rolling. Having a look at the stats and the items real quick, you can see just how close it was. No one with a truly breakout performance, I would argue. Gabe had one to begin with, but with Ataka, somewhat to be expected. You've got to be able to keep it moving as you move forward into the game.
Definitely. I mean, Taka, especially with this build, is something you'd like to snowball with. You get the Tension Bow, that's for your burst early on. The Storm Crown, as we mentioned earlier, is so great at taking objectives. I mean, it's a great item on the Taka, but if you're not bursting these targets down, the Samuel, the Sky, they are going to outdamage you eventually, and that's just what happened here.
All right, crazy game 1, Humanist. I can't wait to hear what our analysts have to say because it was ridiculously close. Playoff Beard, Fuji, Jingyi, take it away.
Thanks very much, Action Jackson. I thought the forced accord might help them get it done there on the
So
Kraken at the
close.
last minute. It doesn't get any closer than that. But just like that, TSM goes up 1-0. And Xingyi, despite the fact that Velocity was ahead, it kind of played out the way you would expect when Velocity has the early game comp, and then TSM, the stronger the match, the longer the match goes on, the stronger they get.
Yeah, I thought the start of the game was very back and forth. I felt TSM had the first like 2-3 minute advantage, and then it seemed that Hammer's Velocity had kind of managed to tear apart the teamwork. I felt like we saw TSM falling apart literally in front of our eyes. And I think what happened there in the late game, with they started chaining their skills together very well. We saw the Gauntlet being thrown down, and then we saw the Drifting Darkness being he kind of released it before. So by the time all members of TSM were in the Gauntlet, that Drifting Dark was there, and that worked very, very well.
All right, and nobody wants to be going up against a fed Taka, a 9-1 Taka on Gabe Bizzle. It looked like it was going to be a big concern, this Stormcrown build, but TSM was able to claw it back.
Yeah, they were. When we look at the way Velocity performed in the early game, they did pretty much everything like they wanted to. They had 2 fountains at 11 minutes, and as we said, Gabe on this Taka was 9-1 at 13 minutes. These are really big turning points for this Velocity team. They have a lot of momentum, but it was less about them doing things right and more about TSM doing some things wrong. And what I mean by that is TSM was fighting too much outside of their comfort zone. Like when you were going up against an early game comp like Adagio and Taka, you don't have to fight as much, especially if you're scaling. So I'd like to see TSM play a little bit less confidently outside of their power spikes and play a little bit more within the realm of their draft.
And Bestchuck NA, he wasn't on one of his signature heroes, right? And at the beginning, you worried about it a little bit, but as the match went on, he was very elusive. He had some head fakes where he really messed up Velocity where they thought he was going in, and then he pulled back. He got better and better as the match went on.
Yeah, definitely. So at the start, you know, I was saying TSM, they had a good start, and I think what was really good, you got that breaking point. I think once you got that breaking point, things started going fantastically for them, because what we saw was that Velocity were really focusing on taking Von-C down. They didn't respect that he was building up those breaking point stacks. You know, he was getting up to 20 to 25 every single time. And, you know, by the time they did that, he was able to take down all 3 members of Hammer's Velocity, at which point they're like, oh no, we have to start thinking about him. But he was being very clever. He was using his Suri strike, he was using it to kind of compensate for and get out of that Verso Judgment. He was using it at the right times, leaving it there, and it was just very, very cleverly done.
Let's take a look at one of the key fights from this last game.
Yeah, in this specific key fight here, we'll notice that Bestchuck does end up taking quite a bit of damage here. Von-C on the back line, barely making it out. Flash has had to use Crucible and Fountain. We just see one of the fountains coming out of Velocity. Bestchuck actually comes down, fake punts a Suri strike into the team, backs up, and that actually baits Zeo into healing himself. He doesn't actually get it onto anyone else, and this entire time, Bestchuck's just on the back line. The fountain wasn't used fast enough from Gabe's side to save Adagio, and that ended up basically turning the entire game around for TSM's favor.
Yeah, it really did. All right, with that, they're ready for match 2. It is a best of 5. They are playing for the Summer Championship as well as a spot in the World Championships. Here we go. The draft of match 2, 1-0. Team Solo Mid. As you see, Hammers are getting their headsets on. They're getting ready. Zeo is on the clock, and he's going to just bide a little time here, make sure his team is comfortable and ready. Or Gabe might just reach over
Gabe's like, I got
Lyra,
it.
because Lyra's real strong. Might as well just reach over and ban Lyra.
And when we say teammates support each other, that's definitely one way to do it.
And this time, there won't be a Samuel.
Yeah, there's not going to be a Samuel or Lyra. We do see Velocity grabbing the Finn again. I actually was very impressed with Aloha on the Finn last game, even though they didn't take the win. He did do some incredible quibble plays. TSM now taking Lance and Adagio, though.
Jingy, Nightmare Scenario, that's Bestchuck NA's best hero and Von-C's best hero.
Yeah, and it does leave Hammer's Velocity in a very difficult position because TSM have played this comp before with that Arden. And, you know, they've already picked up their roam. They can't pick up the Arden. They're just going to have to counter it themselves.
All right, so Celeste, we saw this on Old School multiple times. What do you think about it on Zeo?
I don't know if I really like the way Velocity's draft is going. You literally just gave TSM a god comp that they would claim for themselves. Flash on Arden, Bestchuck on Adagio, and Von-C on Lance. That's a rough lineup.
Those are literally all of their best heroes right now. I mean, Von-C equally known for his Kestrel, but boy, that is deeply, deeply frightening. We'll see what Hammer's Velocity is able to do about it with the call. It's Humanist in action, Jackson.
Thank you very much, Playoff Beard. I mean, the analyst said it. This is a comfort composition for Team Solo Mid.
Definitely.
I love the slingshot, the Arden plus the Lance. If used properly, it can be so devastating in the early game.
It is so powerful of a combo, but the thing is, you talk about the early game, if Velocity can hold on until that 15 to 20 minute plus mark of this game, I think the advantage definitely shifts over towards their side, but it's going to be a tough one because Von-C is going to be running at you, no mercy.
Yeah, and you heard Fuji earlier on the desk talking about Team Solo Mid playing around their draft and their power spikes. This is a draft I don't think you can get that wrong on unless you just don't do anything in the early game. It's all about that pressure. Von-C is known for it. I'm expecting fireworks.
Well, I think the only way Von C's not applying pressure is if he's disconnected, and he's definitely connected right now.
Absolutely. Zio getting some good harassment down onto Chuck in the lane. You can see Team Solo Mid making their way to the shop here. That does force Velocity back a little bit. Can be difficult as a Sky into a Lance in those early jungle fights.
Oh, it definitely will be. We talk about the power of the Lance into Sky. If you can land an Impale into the Githian wall, almost every time you'll see that Sky go down.
Von C already starting to turn up the heat a little bit, trying to find the Impale onto Zio, but Zio with a very heads-up play, backing out of there, isn't going to get caught unawares just yet.
Yeah, and this is just going to be a little bit of babysitting. Aloha buying some space for Celeste. But now, keep your eye on Von C, who is moving into the jungle looking for the Sky. And it looks like Gabe Vizzle sniffs that out and is going to move over to the opposite side of that map.
Very smart rotation by Gabe Vizzle. You do not want to deal with Lance early. If he hits the Impale with 2 weapon blades, you're pretty much done for. It's a hard situation to come back from. So I like this. I think he's playing very smart. Both teams, you'd expect nothing less from the finalists.
Yeah, and I really like it because a lot of times you would see maybe the laner rotate back to try to defend those, but up against the Celeste, they really want to keep the pressure onto Zio because if they give Zio some free space, he's just going to farm up and have the time of his life.
Look at how Flash is playing this Arden too. He's sitting in the lane, he jumps forward even under turret with that blood for blood, and he vanguards to get out of there without taking very much damage, especially with his perk on top of that. You can get so much free harassment down. It's a little bit like how you're seeing Lyra's, for example, harass so much in the lane.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit easier to do that harassing with the Lyra, but definitely a nice play out of Flash. And exactly as you said it, you blood for blood in, you land that Vanguard. You're also going to slow up Zio if he's within range to have that land on him. So it's really nice if Bestchuck's there to throw a couple more shots on him as well.
All right, not too much action early into this game. We've seen aces by 1.5 minutes, and it's 2.5 gone with no real fighting. Team Solo Mid and Velocity both need to be careful here. This is such an important series for them. Either team would love to be the only team in North America to have taken 2 championship titles thus far.
Yeah, well, as far as this first 3 minutes of the game, I got to say Velocity is winning it, and a lot of it coming down to Gabe Vizzle's rotation into the jungle to avoid Von C's Lance, to steal away Team Solo Mid's backs. It's just really nice play thus far.
If you're Team Solo Mid, how do you break open the defenses of Velocity and make this comp work in the early game?
I think you just really need to apply vision everywhere across the map. If Flash can move down, get some scout traps into place, that's going to help them a lot. But right now, you'll see Velocity actually have nice scout traps on their own side, and that allows Gabe Vizzle to read exactly where Von C is going to rotate.
Indeed it does. Aloha doing a good job of helping Zio out with Flash X being a nuisance up in the lane. Again, we see junglers on either side of the map just trying to take away each other's camps. Flash does realize that Gabe Vizzle might be in the vicinity though. He spots him out with the flare. It's going to be hard for Gabe to get away from this one with Chuck rotating down as well. They don't have Von C. Can Gabe make the hero play? That's the question here. Chuck, look at the damage he's doing, but we've actually got the rotation out of Velocity. 2 members coming to help him out. Chuck the first to fall. Velocity with first blood. Great heads-up rotation. Von C was nowhere to be seen. Flash, he gets away, but Velocity starts things off quite well. Now Flash got to be careful as well. The Helio's coming down. Flash just barely able to get back to lane. Von C starting to make his way in. It would be bold of him to go in 1 versus 2, maybe even 3. He doesn't know if the recall comes across. Velocity, like you said, winning the early game.
Absolutely, and Zio has such a phenomenal rotation. It's so hard to describe how good that was. He booted down from lane to get in position, landing the 2-man stun. He opened up and made that fight happen.
All right, Von C should be able to back away from Zio and Aloha there. He did, I believe, get both of those camps, so he's sitting pretty with a lot of gold under his belt. That's the big advantage I want to highlight on for Solo Mid. Von C, although he hasn't gotten any kills yet, he is doing good work when it comes to just farming, stopping from Velocity from having too much presence in the jungle. If he can keep this up, maybe he'll eventually catch Gabe Vizzle in a slip-up. We'll have to see if he can do it. Gabe Vizzle right now making his way towards the lane. Zio and Velocity want to find Bestchuck, but with a Vanguard buying him some space, Flash X helps Chuck get out of there.
Yeah, I think Team Solo Mid would be very well served to have Flash move down and apply a little more vision, but now Von C with a classic Von C rotation.
Yeah, he does find Zio. Look at the Impale coming across. Core collapse on the Bestchuck, though. Zio cannot get out of there. Aloha, next target for Chuck. I don't think he's got enough damage to pick up the kill by himself. Aloha should be able to get out of there, but a nice rotation is going to find 1 kill. Now Gabe Vizzle stuck on the wrong side of the map. This time he doesn't have any potential rotation out of Zio, so he's just got to get out of here by himself. himself. Is the rotation out of Chuck going to get there in time to secure this kill? Aloha tagging in, getting close enough to Gabe Vizzle that maybe they don't want to go for this one, but Chuck saying no, he's going to go for that Gift of Fire, slowing them up a little bit. Flash trying to come in. Good damage out of both sides. One more attack could do it. Oh, the fountain just barely in time, but Vauncey finds a route onto Zeo. Zeo needs to boots away. Vauncey wants a little bit more. He is level 6, has that roll to keep the pressure on. He's going to go right over the wall, trying to find Zeo. Can he get the impale? He gets another one. Core Collapse is going to land on the Vauncey. The Githian wall buying him a bit of space too. Solo mid with a lot of pressure, but it's not yielding a ton of results right now.
No, it's not, but it's just so beautiful to watch both of these teams rotating, chasing, making these fights, attempts at the fights at least. Flash still holding his fountain, gives TSM a small advantage until Aloha is off cooldown.
Wow, look at this Vauncey just walking up under the turret, going for a little bit of a joke poke onto Aloha. They want maybe some pressure onto the turret itself here. Core Collapse not going to land from Zeo. Flash needs to back away, however, Aloha taking a decent chunk of damage. Their best Chuck doing some good harassment.
Yeah, this is good harass coming out, but Team Solo Mid need to apply more pressure than this. They need to step on the gas because Gabe Vizzle is continuing to farm.
And they're trying to do that right now. They've said, okay, we can't kill your heroes. We're going to go for the turret, but that's a great force to court, and they have no minions to work with. Solar Storm coming across. Vauncey chunked out a little bit there. But Velocity, without all three members, can't deter Team Solo Mid from keeping this push going. Now there's no force to court available. There's no really big cooldowns for Velocity to try and make a fight happen. Vauncey jumping in, just wants that damage onto the turret. Here comes Gabe Vizzle, though. Maybe able to set something up. Flash just going to back away. Good pressure out of Team Solo Mid to take some kind of an objective early on here.
Yeah, that's great that they're able to take this turret down. It's exactly what they need. You want to be finding the kills. If you can get the turret, that's great. And the best thing that they're going to be able to do is maybe take a kill in the next minute or two and get in there and take this gold mine. If they can boost that gold up just a little bit, it should be great for this team.
All right, Vauncey, Sorrow Blade finally hit that power spike. He's going to be doing a lot more damage as a result. On the flip side, Gabe Vizzle hasn't picked up his first tier 3 item, and he's only, okay, now he's just decided to pick every time, man, every time.
Well, you're feeling it. You got the spidey senses there. You watch these guys play quite a bit, so you get that feeling for when they're going to start to pick up these items. But Gabe Vizzle, and we saw it in the last game, it was as soon as that breaking point came out and they're able to get those stacks up, that's where this weapon sky just starts to get really scary.
It's a while until breaking point, though. I mean, he's got one tier 1 component of it and the Sorrow Blade, so there's some time for Team Solo Mid to work with here.
I think
They do
about
have a
2
Crucible
minutes.
now. 2 minutes?
I'd give him about 2 minutes and he should have that up. And if they're not able to find a couple more kills, I'm starting to get really worried for Team Solo Mid.
Where's Zeo going to go from here? Would you like Eve next?
I think Eve would be a great choice, especially for Zeo's play style. He's a guy that likes to stand his ground and trade abilities, and he can land those skill shots. He'll be able to heal himself up and stay right in the middle of that fight.
Talking about Zeo, farm maybe not as good as some people might expect from this guy. Best Chuck on the flip side has 80, which is much closer to the rate you'd be expecting. Team Solo Mid, their pressure has yielded at least some results so far.
It has, but at the same time, you'll say Gabe Vizzle is just a touch ahead of Vauncey, and with that farm, I think he will be able to do a little bit more than Vauncey's Lance as they get later and later into this game.
Okay, so Team Solo Mid, they pick up the gold mine quite a while until the next one stacks up. So objective-wise, it's really going for a second tier turret, going for some back camps, trying to set up an ambush. Those are the options available to TSM if they want to actually go for a play sometime soon. Right now you see Flash and Vauncey on their side of the jungle, though. They're taking their time setting this up.
Yeah, there's no reason to take a bad fight here. Yes, you want to make some plays, but just get in there, make sure you have vision of your opponent, and take it as soon as the fight looks good for you.
All right, Velocity. Zeo's working his way towards that Eve. Gabe, he's actually picked up some defense rather than going directly for this breaking point. Not sure I like him slowing down that progression so much.
Yeah, especially when they were able to avoid these fights. Now, there's definitely going to be more pressure coming out. Maybe he's saying, okay, we're going to probably defend these turrets. We don't want them to go down like they allowed the tier 1 to go down. So in that case, maybe it makes a little more sense.
Vauncey is looking to get a bit of harassment down. They realized, I think, that Gabe Vizzle wasn't nearby, but only a very small amount of damage onto that turret. Team Solo Mid, they're finding it hard to get big impact plays right now.
Yeah, definitely. And as we look at Gabe Vizzle, I think a reflex block would be really key for him. He needs to have the ability to get through the gauntlet wall. As well, he needs to be able to dive onto Best Chuck and deal with that verse if he is isolated from his team.
Best Chuck just picked up a broken myth on top of that alternating current, so his damage spike has just happened. In the next fight, you gotta pay attention to him. Watch the damage he's doing onto those key targets. Gabe, he's got 1,000 gold, just went back to base. Gonna pick up a Shiver Steel actually second.
Yeah, and this is going to work out probably very good for him. And especially, we've seen it into the Adagio. Adagio, a very immobile hero, but has high damage output. So if you can slow him down just a little bit, it will allow Zeo to get in there, land those skill shots, and Gabe Bizzle to abuse the mobility coming out of the weapon Sky.
All right, Team Solo mid, making their presence known to Velocity yet again, right around that turret, but Bestchuck taking a lot of harassment. Vonsi, you gotta be careful as well. Look at the stuns. They just keep coming out. He's gotta get out of there. Heliogenesis doing so much damage right now. Vonsi is able to escape. That was a really close fight, though. I can't believe Vaughn lived, to be honest.
Oh, it felt like he was going to get
Whoa,
burst down.
he's going back in. Flash. Just speeding him up with that Vanguard. Vaughn not letting any of the gas off the pedal right now. TSM really want to make that play.
Yeah, Von C, he's just trying to apply the pressure. That's the slingshot we talked about. Vanguard
Uh-oh.
into the Impale, rooted.
Gabe Bizzle does get rooted up this time. Fountain popped on the side of Velocity. Gotta be careful. Bestchuck NA has been poked down a lot, though. Zeo has not got Solar Storm available. So Solo Mid know that they can just back away, play this pretty safe. Velocity doing a good job of not losing out early on here, though.
Velocity's doing a great job. They're doing exactly what they need to do. And we talked about the timing in the power spikes for this team. If Velocity can just hold on for maybe 4 or 5 more minutes, their composition is really going to start to come to life.
Vonsi just picked up his second Sorrow Blade. His damage is pretty significant right now. The problem is getting in the right position to use it. Aloha, we got to talk about him. Haven't spoken much about him yet this game, but something I'm always super impressed by is his ability to block for his teammates, to use his polite companies to pull people out of positions where they can actually get on top of the back line. And every single time Team Solo Mid moves up and aggresses, we're seeing that happen.
Yeah, he's done such a great job with his polite company. It's giving the extra durability to his team. But not only that, now he's hit the power spike of the overdriven Quibble. It's going to be really hard for Von C to get in there. Even if you do land the Impale and there's a vulnerable target, you could just be stunned up, and then it's fight over for you.
All right, Aegis now for Bestchuck NA. We're seeing a weapon infusion for Von C too. They know they need to make a play sometime soon. Both teams nearby this gold mine. They don't want to let it go across. Von C finds the route onto Gabe Bizzle. Vanguard lets him reposition just a little bit, but Gabe wants to go onto Chuck. They're inside of the gauntlet. It's going to be hard for them to walk away here. Aloha taking so much damage, he might go down. You can see Zeo with the Solar Storm doing so much work on the back line, though. Chuck pulled into the thick of things, but that actually gets him in range to find one kill. He gets another. Zeo goes down. Gabe Bizzle falls. No kills. Going the way of Velocity. Team Solo Mid with a stellar team fight.
A phenomenal fight out of Team Solo Mid. They take advantage of the mistakes by Hammer's Velocity. I don't think there's a reason to be this aggressive. The root goes down. You'll see this gauntlet's going to come out very quick out of Flash right here. Holds everybody in place. Gabe Bizzle does a great job of dancing around, trying to avoid the impales, but Aloha's getting lit up, and the damage output is just not there for Velocity right now. They will pull Bestchuck in, trying to get him down, but at this point, Zeo, Aloha, they've fallen, and Gabe Bizzle cannot stand.
Zeo, sorry, not Zeo. Bestchuck NA was rubber banding between almost no health and a decent chunk of it just because of Vanguard, his heal, Flash and him doing a great job of staying alive in that fight to get more DPS down. Von C's now, he's picked up a Shiver Steel. We've got the infusion on Bestchuck. With only a minute until Kraken, Team Solo Mid know they need to turn up the heat right now.
Definitely, and that's why you saw Von C pop that infusion earlier. He wants to continue to apply pressure and abuse this advantage, but a very interesting rotation out of both teams. A little ring around the rosy as War Tread's activated.
Team Solo Mid know exactly where Velocity are right now. They're going to try and move into this choke point, go for the kills. Chuck has to be careful with that death from above, but Gabe Bizzle already going down. Great reflex block. Zeo can't find the damage onto Chuck. He needs to get out of there, but he can't quite do it. Velocity, they managed to get out-rotated by Team Solo Mid.
Wow.
2 aces in a row. That's a 5,000 gold lead for TSM.
I really have to question the play calls there. There's no reason for Velocity to get in there, to go so aggressively forward without knowledge of exactly where their opponent are. And Zeo, he's just going to continue to get stronger as the game goes on. Sure, he picked up his Eve. Yes, he is infused, but just let your composition play to its strengths.
Man, 88 gold picked up right in the last second on that gold mine before Kraken spawns. You saw as well Bestchuck pushing down a turret in the lane, so only 2 left standing for Velocity. Have a look at this replay real quick, though.
Yeah, Gabe Bizzle absolutely getting blown up, tries to move forward, but nowhere to go. Best Chuck and company just blow him up, and at that point, Zio cannot stand his ground. Aloha's gonna do nothing on his own. Just an easy ace and a triple kill right there for Best Chuck and A.
I feel like if Gabe Bizzle was able to position a little bit better in that fight, not get blown up so quickly, maybe things could go well for him, but look at how far off his breaking point is. This is a bad situation for Velocity. They actually move forward to contest this Kraken. Gauntlet over the wall. Flash X can't find anyone, but Vauncey wants more. Block from Zio on that Impale. Chuck trying to move in here. He's zoned out by the death from above, though. Vauncey taking quite low on the back line, but Zio is very low as well. Core Collapse does not connect. Solar Storm, Vauncey tumbles right into it. Best Chuck does not have energy anymore. He's trying to basic attack down Zio as TSM moved in too far. Gabe Bizzle still very healthy. Fourth the core on the 2. Chuck, he gets stunned up. The quibble is there from Aloha. Gabe should have this kill. Somehow, Velocity managed to win a fight. Just a little bit too aggressive from Team Solo Mid.
Yeah, Team Solo Mid maybe could have approached that a little bit better. Let's see if Flash can get himself out of
Nope.
here. Not going to happen. There's too much damage. Meanwhile, Kraken lumbering down the lane. They're going to have to get back and kill this.
All right, that is the ace. Even though Vauncey was only a couple of seconds off respawning, they do need to deal with the Kraken. So it is something Velocity need to make work. Replay here, you can see Chuck just wasn't in that fight for so long.
Yeah, the death from above really zoned him out quite nicely. The Solar Storm comes through, chunks Vauncey out, and while the Fountain did come out of Flash in time, it just wasn't enough to keep him alive. At this point, it's the easy focus on the Best Chuck, forced the court, saved by Aloha into that Quibble stun, and Gabe Bizzle can just go to town.
Look at how much Gabe Bizzle got off of that last kill onto Best Chuck. I think he got like 600 gold there for the shutdown. That's massive. Suddenly he has a breaking point. I think things start turning around right now if Velocity play this game right.
Even if Velocity weren't taking fights, if they were just sitting back and playing defensively, you look at the timing of this game, this is where their composition would start to come alive anyway. So to be able to take that fight, to get the gold from the Kraken, it's really a huge boost to their ability to win this game.
Kraken did take one turret by itself there, though, so Team Solo Mid only need to get through one to take the Vayne Crystal down. Is there any merit in just hard shoving lane here, trying to out-siege Velocity?
Well, you can definitely try it, but if you put yourself in a dangerous position, you're going to be cleaned up quite easily. And you have an immobile hero like Best Chuck. If the fight goes wrong, you imagine he's going to get chased down and killed.
All right, well, speaking of chasing them down, Velocity trying to do that right now. The hook only going on to Flash X. Vauncey trying to get onto the back line, but in the choke point, the death from above does a lot of work. Chuck coming around from the flank, looking for Zio. That's some good damage. Zio just barely able to find the Solar Storm. Can Chuck deal with Gabe Bizzle this time? That's the question. The Quibble onto 3, death from above again, but it's not going to be enough. The first picks up the kill. Team Solo Mid with another ace. Only one turret left alive. They should be able to push in for their second win of the series here.
Wow, you just see a little bit of a mistake in the positioning out of Velocity. TSM instantly recognized it. Flash drops that gauntlet, and the rest will follow from there. Zio, he tried his darndest to stay in there with that Eve, but it's just not enough.
All right, Team Solo Mid, they pick up their second win in a row of the Grand Finals. This is the do-or-die situation for Velocity. If they lose one more game, it is all over.
My goodness, a lot of pressure right now to be down 2 games. Maybe a bit of a, just a great feeling over for TSM. Maybe they can relax coming into game 3 just a touch. But for Velocity, you really have to tighten up your game. And my goodness, I wish they would have held back just a little bit, played a little more passive as you got around that 14, 15-minute mark of the game. But at the end of the day, credit to TSM, phenomenal plays.
I have to agree with you, though. I think if Velocity just played a little bit slower, if they didn't take those 2 fights in a row that yielded aces to Team Solo Mid, maybe they could have bought the time they needed to hit the power spikes. Breaking point was so late that game from Gabe Bizzle. It took so long for him to start doing good damage in these fights.
Yeah, definitely. I think in hindsight, he could have just avoided purchasing that Shiver Steel, just build right into the breaking point. There was no reason for them to even attempt to chase down their opponents at that point. So just sit on the back lines, let TSM come to you, build up those breaking point stacks, and go from there.
You can see in the gold earned here, Best Chuck NA sitting at 9.1 thousand. That's a tremendous amount of money in comparison to anyone else in the game. He did a great job of farming up 156 there. So much damage coming out of this guy. We talked about Adagio being a signature pickup for him. It really was. All of the comfort picks coming out from Team Solo Mid made that game feel like a very strong one from them. Moving into game 3, draft-wise, what do Velocity need to change up here?
Honestly, I don't think there's any problem with the draft. I think it's how they played that draft out. And these guys, they're all great on these individual heroes, but they just have to put it together, and it's all about the shot calls as you get into these stressful moments in the game.
All right, well, this could be our final game that we're hopping into. Before we get there, let's pass it on back to the analysts to hear what they have to say on that game.
All right, thank you very much, Action Jackson. So now TSM within one win of claiming the Summer Championships and punching their ticket to Worlds. And Fuji, the casters really nailed it here. Velocity, they had to wait out at least level 8 before they started fighting, and then they had to focus Best Chuck NA, but their plans just got scrambled time and again.
Yeah, they definitely needed to give Celeste more time to scale up. They got some early kills, which was pretty indicative of Lance just not being there. So when Velocity did that, I think it gave them a little too much confidence in the early game. Obviously, in a 3v2 situation, easier to pick up a kill really quick. But when they took that momentum, they didn't slow it down enough. And I think Action Jackson had it right on the head when he said that they needed to just let Celeste get stronger. And then the Shiver still coming out. I mean, I understand you want to be able to hold on to the Adagio, but when there's a Lance and an Arden front line, they're not very fast moving. So I think that gold could have been better spent elsewhere.
Yeah, and Gabe Vizel at times got caught, and TSM, they rarely get caught. That was another big factor.
Yeah, it was a very big factor. I mean, positioning is the key thing that allows Best Chuck NA to be so amazing at the Adagio. And when they drafted this comp, like we called it right away, it was the superior draft. We're talking about the best heroes inevitably winning the game, and it doesn't really matter when you look at TSM and you're saying, like, why did we just give Best Chuck Adagio, Von C Lance, and then Flash Arden? I mean, these are the playmaking heroes they've been winning all these games with all weekend long.
Xingyi, what really stood out to you?
I think there's a few things that stood out for me. First, Velocity. In Velocity, I think DN Zeal's positioning, he is usually just, perfect with it. But this one, I think he was getting a little bit flustered. We're noticing him standing a little bit too far forward. He was standing with the rest of his teammates, and he was getting caught by that impale an awful lot. When you're a Celeste, especially with an overdriven Helogenesis, you do not need to be that far up. And second of all, I think, we saw some very aggressive force to cores coming out from the Finn. And the composition that TSM played, this is a comp that doesn't really mind being pulled in. They love being pulled in. Adagio, if he gets pulled in, puts his gift of fire, Verse of Judgment, everyone's dead.
Yeah, that's a great point now for Velocity. Their backs are against the wall. They cannot afford to lose or it's all over. What does that do to your mental state? Does that make you kind of more determined, or do things start unraveling?
I think for Velocity, they're a very experienced team. They've had a lot of time playing together, and they've got fantastic synergy. And this is not the first time where they've been in a position where they could, potentially lose a title. They've come back, they've reverse swept before. It doesn't look great for them right now, but they've got great resolve. They've got a great management team. If they manage to pull through, just try not to make those mistakes that they were beginning to show in the last game.
Fuji, let's look at one of these sequences.
Yeah, and in this specific replay, we're going to see here that whenever you're trying to come off of an ace, or you're ever coming out of a situation, we talked about this before when Von C, the aggression leading to some things. This specific gold mine right here gave them a full payout, which continued to push the lead in the favor of TSM. Once you get this huge lead, it's really on the backs of Velocity to be able to make a comeback, to be able to make something happen in this game that really is going to turn it around. And with that kind of gold differential, I just don't think they had that opportunity.
Yeah, and we'll find a fight for you there to talk through in just a moment.
Oh,
just
hey,
really,
we got a
literally
fight.
just a moment.
Just a moment. So in this specific team fight was so critical for TSM to win. We see Von C going in exactly like they had intended to, getting the damage on, being the front line, while Best Chuck in the back line is getting off free damage outside of the gauntlet. That's exactly where they want to be. But the Solar Storm does get TSM really low, and with the pull-in on Chuck, it almost looks like Velocity could win, but the Vanguard coming out of Arden on the Best Chuck and the self-heal was just too much for them to be able to take the victory there.
Oh, Xingyi, what a Vanguard, and also some really excellent fountains there as well.
Yeah, they're really clutch. You know, we can all in the past, the past few games that we've seen today, you can really see what happens when a fountain is just not clicked at the right time, whether it be early, whether it be late. And those on-point fountains just really make this such an interesting game to watch, and it just really kept them going for that extra, extra 10 seconds to pick up the ace.
All right, so on Velocity side, is it stay the course now, or is this the time when you pull out that thing that you had in your back pocket in case you really, really need it?
I think this is the time where you have to pull something out that's completely different. TSM has showed us that not only is their drafting actually been a little bit more superior in this series, but their in-game shot calls and team fighting mechanics have also been superior. When your back's against the wall, you can't just continue doing the same thing expecting different results. This is their time to shine. This is where it comes down to. It is 0-2 for Velocity. They need to do something to get back into this.
All right, so we'll see if Velocity has another card to play. We're into the draft. It's match 3 in this best of 5. Velocity must win or their tournament is over, and that would make Team Solo Mid the summer champions. Lance off the board.
That's the signature ban for TSM. Every single time they are on A side, they remove the Lance.
No surprise that they don't want to see this Arden anymore.
Yeah, by banning out the Arden, they're taking away that composition that Team Solo Mid have been running. It does leave that Adagio and the Adagio open because Lance has been taken out as well now.
But it just goes to show how effective Flash X has been in this tournament. We never expected to see Arden bans.
It seems that Velocity has decided for themselves that Arden is kind of the key component they're building some of these comps around, so they want to remove him, see how TSM reacts. TSM does pick up the Adagio, obviously one of Best-Chuck's best, if not the best hero for himself. Velocity's thinking a little bit on this. They are hovering the Samuel, which they will lock in, and I like that.
And I gotta say, Fuji, your whole tournament is on the line. You're gonna go with the newest hero in the game, a hero that's been sometimes great, sometimes really sketchy in this tournament.
That's true, but Zio did show us that at lane Samuel can be a hard carry for his team, so they picked this up, and they're gonna put Aloha on the Finn. Hey!
Xingyi the Saw!
I love the Saw pick. I don't think we've seen many Saws, and I think we're looking for the Saw mask right now, aren't we, just to show our happiness.
The Saw does come through, which is an exciting pick because it could be played weapon or crystal.
All right, so it's going to be hard to know which way they're going to go with that. Lyra, of course, is a menace in her own right. It will be Gabe Bizzle going back to that well once again, looking to position himself better than the last game, but now it's all about the Saw. It's all about the turret pushing, and watch that 5-minute mark. That's what it's all about. Can Saw get a turret down before 5 minutes are up? If he does, you know things are going right for TSM. If he doesn't, then you know Velocity can put something together here. All right, Velocity must win or the tournament is over. With the call, it's Humanist in action. Jackson.
Thank you very much, Playoff Beard. Man, what a draft for what could be the final game of the entire Summer Championships. We knew Team Solo Mid had something up their sleeves. It may well be this Saw pickup. Ladies and gentlemen, this could be the last game. Make some noise for your teams. All right, so I got to talk about something here, Humanist. We saw the player cams during that draft. As soon as Lyra was let through with the Adagio, you saw Flash and Vonsi shake their heads and laugh. This is a combination we've heard talked about so often. You can't let it through, right? This is exactly what Velocity decided to do. How much of a mistake is this if it is a mistake?
There's mistakes upon mistakes right now. Flash just moves in, takes that Treant, and actually just Elagiggles a little bit more. I've got my Kappas. Flash has got his Elagiggles, and right now TSM are in pole position.
All right, well, you can see Velocity starting to make their way up to the lane. They know they need to deal with the early push that could be coming in from the Saw. Aloha taking so much damage. The Dank Shank not going to come through, though. Vonsi backs up just a little bit. Already the pressure out of Team Solo Mid's composition coming to fruition, though. It's hard to defend against this.
This is just absolute perfect siege pressure. Now, Vonsi on the Saw, he has a weapon blade to start, but don't be surprised if he transitions into the CP Saw with the Dank Shanks galore.
Even when Gabe Bizzle lands a full forward barrage onto Vonsi, the healing from Chuck and Flash comes across and keeps him alive. What I really want to highlight here, though, and what I really want to know from you, is Vonsi on the Saw. Normally when you see this composition, this kind of a push composition, Saw is in lane. Team Solo Mid, they're playing this very, very differently with Vonsi in the jungle.
Well, I don't think this is necessarily a push composition. I think maybe in the draft you could have that idea, but oftentimes with Team Solo Mid, they've taken Von-C, put him in the jungle with that Saw. They'll go ahead and let him be passive as the game gets into the mid game, but early game he's going to pressure up with that. Just one weapon blade, like I said, he can apply pressure, and then he builds into those CP items, and his late game will be immense.
Look at how much pressure Team Solo Mid are able to apply with just Lyra and Adagio on the turret. And Von-C, oh, he is going Crystal, Humanist. This is going to be an interesting one.
Oh man, any Saw fans out there are going to be having a great time this game. And it's not the summer party skin, so no dash and splash, but definitely Dangshanks ready to happen.
Wow, look at the amount of damage from the range that Team Solo Mid are able to put down. Zeo immediately has to back away. Aloha regrouping in the lane just to cover him a little bit. The turret could be the next focus here. Gavizzle needs to rotate up. Good Quibble lands onto 2, but the forward barrage just isn't there.
Right now, Team Solo Mid have got to be so happy about the way this game's going. They have the poke from range, slows, and the ability to follow up on top of that. It's such a hard, just uphill battle for Velocity. I don't know how they're going to be able to get through this early game.
It's going to be really tough. I mean, Zeo does have great wave clear a little bit later on, but I feel like he needs maybe at least one good item to hit that point. Oh, one more basic! Just barely coming across. Best Chuck with first blood. Man, this is so hard to defend against.
If anyone takes damage, you have Gift of Fire, or you have the Sigil to drop out of Lyra, and they are instantly healed right back up and in fighting shape. Now, Gavizzle did make the rotation to take away the backs. That's a nice play from him, and he'll have to make these cheeky little plays consistently to get themselves back into this.
Gavizzle actually moving in for maybe a flank here, but with the turret nearly going down and Zeo so low, this could be a little bit risky. Can Gavizzle find anything here? Suppressing fire, miles off the mark. Gabe is going to be able to back away, but the turret not long for this world.
No, it won't be, and it's going to be Zeo recalling back. He wants to heal up, pick up a couple items, and you look, he picks up 3 potions right off the bat. He knows he has to sustain himself into that lane.
TSM have Best Chuck with 2.5k and Flash with 2 in their pockets, right? They've waited so long, they've been in lane so long that they can go back and pick up a lot of power. If you felt things were hard for Velocity, when they next get back to lane is going to be even harder. I do want to talk about what Gavizzle was doing earlier. You mentioned this isn't maybe the traditional Saw push comp, right? But back when that was popular, we saw a lot of unique strategies being used to try and defend against it. I like the proxy farming here, the pressure on the back jungle to stop Von-C from taking too much.
Yeah, definitely. You think, like, if you can't trade in the fights, you want to just still be continuously accumulating whatever resources across the map that you can. The problem is, though, if you look at Team Solo Mid, they're still actually going to scale into the late game incredibly well, so you can't afford to be passive for too long.
Very much so. Von-C is not near the lane right now, so Gavizzle just rotating up to try and stop Chuck and Flash from maybe taking this turret by themselves. This does buy Von-C a lot of time. Near the shop, what's he going to go for? Heavy Prism, lots of damage already coming across.
Yeah, it really depends exactly the route he wants to go. Sometimes the Shattered Glass, sometimes the Broken Myth, into the Eve. Very common for this type of player.
Aloha taking a good chunk of damage here. Chuck with the basic attacks. He's looking for Dangshank coming across. Von-C finds another one. Turret going to be going down as well. Big gold swing for TSM. They're 1,000 in the lead right now. They've got some room to work with Aloha off the map.
Von-C on this CP Saw, he will be ready to just kill steal anybody on this map. You saw right there, the moment you get down 20%, 10% health, Von-C is going to be running at you, and it's only going to get scarier as the game goes on.
Good lord, that turret is dying very quickly. Von-C is going to back away right at the end here, but back in with the suppressing fire. Zeo's got to be careful. Von-C, once he hits that level 6, and he is just about there, is also going to do so much more damage now that he has that ultimate. Gabe trying to flank. Velocity might want to go for the fight here. Flash is quite low and in a bad position. The depth from above zoning him out a little bit, but Von-C turning it around, going right back in. Zeo, he's got to be careful. The suppressing fire. Von-C sits inside the forward barrage, though. It's going to be the trade. Chuck, he's 2 levels lower than Gabe right now. He is going to have to back away, but Gabe wants this one. Bootsing forwards. Chuck taking a lot of damage. Can Gabe do this? Surrey strike very deep. Chuck, he needs a heal. He doesn't have it. Gavizzle picks up yet another kill for Velocity in a very extended team fight.
Yeah, it's just a great job out of Velocity in this engagement. You have Zeo and Aloha just buying time. Gavizzle making the rotation from behind. Executed perfectly.
All right, Team Solo Mid, they have taken themselves one turret, nearly two already, though. You heard the analyst say, if you don't have won by 5 minutes, you're in a bad spot. They have that turret, but are they starting to slow down here?
Well, I will disagree with our analyst on that. I think if you're going into this game as a weapon saw, then that's the case. But with the CP saw, you actually scale into the late game incredibly well. And I think this is just a cherry on top, the fact that they're able to take two right now.
I also really like pairing double heal with CP Saw because it gives you time to get another rotation of spells off. And really, this is something we haven't seen that much in North America. It's been more of a Europe trend over the course of the Evil 8, but Team Solo Mid seem to be making it work so far. That's with the death from above, though. Vauncey needs to be careful. He's got to back away. Look at the damage. Zeo finds himself the kill with Gabe Fizzle. Now Velocity in hot pursuit. Chuck, he doesn't have any way out of this. Trying to burst, maybe salvage something out of the fight. Zeo, he's actually taking a lot of damage. Where's the rest of Velocity? They left Zeo alone. Chuck, he wants Gabe too. The heal coming across, not going to be enough. Flash needs to get out. Does use that portal, but the forward barrage doing some work. Oh no! Gabe! He doesn't follow through because he accidentally takes the portal back. Still, 2-for-1 trade. Velocity cannot be too unhappy with that. Vauncey wants something here. The scout trap sees Gabe Fizzle. Flash starting to move in. They could swap onto Aloha if they just want the safer bet. Vauncey has popped the ultimate. Lots of damage coming out from these basic attacks right now. Aloha needs to get away. Does have the boots cooldown though. He should be able to get back to safety.
Yeah, Aloha actually dipping into the shop, picking up his tier 2 boots just in case he needs them. It looked like they were going to let him go, but he activates them anyway, guarantees himself a way out of that one.
All right, Team Solo Mid, they are still sitting at about 1,000 gold in the lead, but they haven't taken the second turret yet. Velocity are hanging on. They need to hang on. This could be their last game in the championships. They desperately want their second consecutive title. Team Solo Mid, on the other hand, if they win this game, go 9-0 at Summer. Both teams have a lot on the line.
Oh yeah, it's a lot on the line, as you said. You have the best in your region. Not only that, to be able to say that you've got 2 seasons in 1 year, it's a really big deal.
It absolutely is. Suppressing fire, doing some good damage onto Gabe. Death from above, not really in the best position there. Zeo just making his way back in as well. Look at Gabe's level. We got to talk about this. Level 10 already. He's had so much free reign in the jungle to just farm up. This is really what Velocity need to rely on to win this one.
Yeah, and you see them using that to their advantage every single time when they were winning a fight. It's Gabe Fizzle rotating.
Oblivion and Force to Court both get blocked by the Crucible. Vauncey jumping in, finds some good damage onto Gabe, but here comes the Drifting Dark. Zeo wants a little bit more action. You see the Imperial Sigil healing up Vauncey, buying some time for Team Solo Mid. They're just going to go back into this one, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, TSM actually in a strong advantage. Flash was able to hold on to his fountain while Aloha was forced to use his. So TSM able to sit in there. They're going to take these backs away and move forward into the jungle, look to take whatever objective they can.
All right, Team Solo Mid, they have been slowed down a little bit, but certainly in these fights, it's hard to tell who's going to come out ahead if either team fully commits. Neither team wants to. Both, as I said, want the prestige it would yield if they win this series, if they win this game, especially in the case of Team Solo Mid with that 9-0 on the line. It would be such an achievement if they could pull it off. Plus, Flash, if he picks up the win here, is the only 2-time champion in North America.
Oh, you know Flash wants to be able to say that as well. It's going to be a tough battle, but he's definitely in a great position right now. I think Team Solo Mid, they want to be able to just poke Siege, get Breaking Point, the Broken Mist stacks up, and then go from there. On the other side, Velocity, they really need to get in and burst a target down. You saw when Gabe Fizzle was able to land Death from above onto Vauncey, and everybody focuses them, it will start to fall apart from Team Solo Mid. But if they don't burst one down, it's all over.
All right, well, Velocity are coming in from the flank here, looking for the engagement. Flash with a good bright bulwark, shutting that down. Man, things are tense between the two teams.
A lot of tension here. You would expect so. Right now, look at the focus on these players. A lot of communication coming out of Flash, and you know that's one of the strengths coming from Flash. He's such a great shot caller, and just communicating to his team, hey, my item's on cooldown, I'm ready to go, and just perfect calls thus far.
Team Solo Mid just seem to be playing very much around the edge of the initiation range of Velocity. This time, though, they might want to go for it. Vauncey is going to juke around on the backline, doesn't find the Dank Shack. Flash taken quite low. Fourth Court brings in 2. Vauncey, he's got to be careful here. He goes down, and there's a fountain from Velocity. They can keep this fight going. Flash and Chuck, they need to get out of here. They find themselves the route under the turret, but Velocity with that 1 kill, starting to turn up the heat.
Yeah, definitely. And as I was praising the communication from Flash and Team Solo Mid, you got to imagine that there was a bit of mistakes made there. As Flash not even using the fountain, Von-C just a little too far away from his team.
The flare coming out from Flash, I don't see them realistically trying to steal this gold mine away. It seems like such a bold decision, but Bestchuck's moving up. Zeo knows what's up. He's throwing out that Drifting Dark, trying to get in there. No steal from Team Solo Mid. Velocity, they're still behind in gold, but just barely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the reason Velocity have been able to really put up a great fight in these last couple engagements is Zeo with that level 7 infusion quite early. He's one of these players that we've actually seen do this before. If he feels like he's behind in the game, he's just going to secure himself a couple more minutes by picking up this early infusion. And Gabe Vizzle was right behind him with that as well.
The risk of these infusion plays, though, is that for a while, it seems like you're on even footing. Because you're infused, it gives you a lot of stats very efficiently for your gold. But when it runs out, if you haven't actually secured a lot of kills, suddenly the team that hasn't been infusing, that's been investing in the longer term payout of the items, looks way stronger out of nowhere. And Solo Mid, they have got a lot of items under their belt. Eve and Broken Myth for Von-C, AC and Broken Myth for Bestchuck, where Zeo hasn't picked up a second tier 3 and he's only on 81 gold. That's the infusion coming into play.
Oh, it definitely is, and we're going to see the potential in the next minute and a half for Team Solo Mid as they find an engagement.
Yeah, Von-C trying to go in there, but he doesn't see the opening. Flash needs to back away. Lots of damage out of Gabe Vizzle. Flash, oh, he can't actually get out of there. Von-C is just not finding what he needs in these fights. Doesn't get the dash check. Zeo taking the portal. Boldly moving forward ahead of the rest of Velocity. Suppressing fire, doing some good work. Chuck might move up here. Von-C using that dank shank on the minion. Velocity know that they can't push too far in there.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't even them being hooked out of position. That was Flash walking forward and just underestimating the ability for Hammer's Velocity to get on top of them. The moment he starts getting lit up, the damage stacks up so quickly. He tries the ultimate to get out of there. No way.
This is such a far cry from Game 2 for Gabe Vizzle. He's got a Breaking Point and a Sorrow Blade now, in addition to an Aegis. He is really the light of hope for Velocity. He's been keeping them in the game, and at this point, I think things can start to turn around. Velocity have been making a great case for it in the last few fights.
Oh, I totally agree with you, and we're going to see Zeo probably picking up an Eve very quickly here as he goes back to base. Got that money, he's got the Eve, another 3 potions as well. He just wants to stay out on the map as long as possible.
The potions can really help. That instantaneous heal can sometimes take you out of the range of an execute from a dank shank. It really is worth doing if you have the slot free and not enough money to fill it with something a little bit more slot efficient than a potion. That's going to be the infusion out of Von-C. He is level 12, getting full effect out of it. Contraption, actually, from Aloha. Things could start to really explode in these next few engagements.
Yeah, it definitely could. Velocity are looking great right now. We'll see if they can land a Force to Cord or some nice CCs onto Flash.
Flash going so far forward, trying to find that Bright Bulwark, but look at the damage he's already taken. Portal just barely getting him out of range. Von-C on the front line looking for the damage. He finds the dash check, but it's not going to be enough. Chuck can't do anything right now. Flash and him have to retreat. Velocity, to be honest, it doesn't look like Team Solo Mid can do anything against them. This is the push onto the turret. Aloha does take a lot of damage, goes down, but he trades his life for the turret. Gold-wise, a pretty efficient swap out there. Bestchuck wants some more, looking for Gabe. Death from above, not going to do too much. Flash doesn't have the portal, though. Can't get Chuck into position to keep the chase moving. Boots forward, though. He wants the Bright Bulwark, looking for Zeo, maybe. That's the Imperial Sigil. Bestchuck, does he have the damage? He's moving into range. He doesn't have a verse available to go for it with a reflex block, too. So Gabe does get the trade. Man, these fights are close, but Velocity eke out a gold lead in that exchange.
My goodness, that was such an aggressive play call out of TSM to move forward on that. It looked like a 50-50 chance it could go either way, and the mechanical abilities coming out of Velocity to come out on top of that one.
All right, War Tread's now picked up for Flash. He knows that if they're going to win fights, it needs to be a snap decision to really just go in, burst the members of Velocity down, and pick up a kill before Zeo can sustain through the fight, before Aloha gets multiple rotations off. Speaking of Aloha, he is 1 level away from level 12, where he gets full ranks in the hook. At that point, how does Von-C position properly?
Well, honestly, the way you said it is Flash can use those War Treads to move forward. He can just as equally use them to go ahead and move backwards when they find themselves in bad position.
Crowd starting to get amped up a little bit. They know that these next few minutes are going to be critical for both teams. Forced to court. It actually lands on the Von-C, but immediately he just goes in for the check. There's a bright bulwark. Zeo needs to kite back a little bit. Chuck trying to get in position. Von-C finds a good bounce onto the back line, looking for Chuck. That's going to be the burst. The gauntlet is going to come across as well. Zeo needs to run out of here. Von-C is being healed up by the Sigil. Another Dag Shack. He finds Zeo. Team Solo Mid. What a fight from them. They pick up 3 kills. 1 point, almost 4K damage out of the Dag Shack. Team Solo Mid, after so long, pick themselves up an ace.
Yeah, look at this fight. We're going to see Aloha move in here. He actually hooks Von-C in. Crucible, a touch play, but Von-C instantly repositions. And look at Flash, the aggressive move in, gets the Atlas off, buying a lot of time for his team. And Gabe Bizzle will be stunned up right here. And Aloha silenced just for a touch as well. Von-C healed up by this Sigil. All of that healing for TSM going to work here.
Von-C's play in that fight was also just beautiful, dancing around, bouncing all over the place with those Dag Shanks. Also, key moment there for me, Quibble landed a split second after one of those ultimate enhanced basic attacks went across. So the Mad Cannon damage went across onto Zeo. The follow-up was there as a result. Team Solo Mid, they find a Kraken off of this. If anyone can push with the Kraken, if anyone can push with the Saw, it's Team Solo Mid right now. They are so close to the Summer Championship title.
Oh, I'm sure they can smell victory right now. They want to pick up that trophy, raise it high above their heads, marching down the lane. Aloha with the force, the cord misses.
It does, but he only has a 20-second cooldown on that. Maybe he can make a little bit more plays. Zeo taking some poke damage, though. Look at Chuck just playing on the front lines. Very little done to the Kraken during that first turret push. There's only 2 left. Velocity, they need to defend, Humanist. This could be it for them. It all comes down to one more fight. Zeo, he's trying to find the damage on the Flash. He's looking now for Flash as he jumps onto the back line. Von-C bouncing across. One turret taken down. Good force to cord. Lands on the Chuck. He doesn't get the burst off. It's all about Von-C. It's all about Flash. Von-C, I don't think he can survive this one. It looks like Velocity should just barely be able to defend. Team Solo Mid, they don't have their championship title yet.
No, they don't. They're going to be able to take this Kraken down. But my goodness, are they on their last leg or what, Jackson? They have signs of life, but this is such an uphill battle. Down 2 games, only your Vein Crystal remaining. One mistake and this is over. It's going to take perfect execution out of Velocity to stay in this.
They are really on the ropes right now. The tension must be running high. Velocity, a team that came into this tournament tied with 1 point at 6th seed and making it all the way to the finals. They've done so well for themselves thus far, but with the championship from spring under their belt, they want to live up to those expectations of the Hammers fans. Can they do it? Team Solo Mid, on the other hand, had a rough spring season, but really bounced back with the acquisition of a few new players. They're trying to prove themselves yet again on the big stage. Kraken won't be up for a little while. Both teams apprehensively moving up towards the middle of the map.
Yeah, definitely. And as you talked about previous performances and these players, we know Von-C is no fear, just fight. The all-star Flash X making the play calls. But how about Best Chuck NA? Has this been a breakout season or what? Guys, we knew this man was talented, but every single game and every single series, he has been the dominant force on this team.
Oh, Flash spotting out Zeo there. We might see another fight kicking off. Force the cord, not going to do too much. Gabe Bizzle has to Surrey strike back. Chuck looking for Zeo. Can Zeo get the damage down? Von-C with the Dag Shack picks up a kill with Best Chuck. He kites away from Gabe. Gabe needs to find this kill. He does. He manages to kite back a little bit. He's got a lot of breaking points. That's not going to be enough. Chuck gets the kill. Aloha, last man standing. He can't make the hero play. Team Solo Mid are going to be your 2-time, your summer champions.
Aloha, hello, and goodbye right there as Team Solo Mid pick up the fight, move in. They're going to close this one out. Happy to do so. My goodness, Von-C just taking the time to rest. Take a breath right there. Congratulations, Team Solo Mid. What a season. What a performance here in the live championships.
Look at the expressions on their face. They just went 9-0 in championships. They didn't drop a single map. Incredible performance Flash, this is a player who back in the day, a lot of people said, okay, maybe his like mechanics aren't quite on the level, but strategically, this guy's a genius. He's been practicing 10 hours a day. I couldn't see anything wrong with his mechanics here. He has really proved himself to be one of the best players. He's flanked by Chuck, by Von C, players who came onto TSM this season and made their mark.
Definitely. I feel every moment in these games, these guys have been one step ahead of their opponents. That comes down to the shot calls. It comes down to the strategy as you approach these games. What a feeling for these guys right now. Crowd is hyped up. Look at these guys back here. Number one, thumbs up all around.
And Team Solo Mid, I mean, they've actually had a good streak for a while now. Evil 8 was their playground, coming in the first seed. So impressive. I can't wait to see what's next for this team. We've got Autumn coming up. They've locked in a ticket now for Worlds as well, which is absolutely insane. It's going to be such a great future for the team.
Oh, definitely. And right now we have these guys getting ready back on stage behind us. It's cheers.
All right, let's toss it off to the ceremony. It's Evan, Playoff Beard with Team Solo Mid.
All right, congratulations, Flash X. Undefeated. How does it feel, man?
Absolutely incredible, for sure.
So take me through this tournament for you, your mindset coming into it, and what the journey was like.
Absolutely the hardest working team I have ever been on. Nothing has ever felt better to put in the 9 or 10 hours a day with these guys. They were relentless in their practice. No matter what happened, we continue to motivate each other the entire time, and that paying off feels really good.
All right, let's bring in Best Chuck NA. Give a hand for Best Chuck NA here. You've been on this stage before and has ended with some disappointment. You really got a chance to show what an excellent player you are. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, like before today, I've never been in a top 4 team. And you know, from going from bottom 4 teams to number 1, it feels really good.
Talk me through, Adagio was obviously a priority for you, but a lot of things you were comfortable on. Talk me through your mindset and your hero picks.
So basically, just during our practice, we perfected on to make sure that whatever hero I got, I was the best at it. And 100% win rate with Adagio feels good.
I bet it does. I bet it does. And for you with this team, what kind of a difference has it made being a part of the Team Solo Mid organization?
Just the hard work that these two guys put in, and being able to win under this amazing org feels really good.
All right, let's bring in the fan favorite and the Saw in the third match. No fear, just fight. Von C, you put on a clinic in this tournament. It had to be fun.
Your side, you're gonna ask a simple question.
How do you feel right now?
So good. Thanks everyone.
What do you have to say about your two teammates, Flash X and Best Chuck NA?
Without me, without them, I'm nothing.
Oh, without you, they're nothing. That's what you meant, right? All right, so before we go with you, give us your tagline one time. Just tell us what you think about fear.
No fear, just fight.
Right there. That's what it's all about. All right, that is enough talk. You earned this moment. Go claim the Summer Championship trophy. Team Solo Mid! All right, congratulations to Team Solo Mid. went wire to wire here. The #1 seed, undefeated, claiming the Summer Championship trophy. It's been an incredible season for North America, but a lot more to come in Vainglory. Autumn season just around the corner with Update 122. Baron is coming. New social systems are coming. New skins and plenty of surprises. And on the competitive side, we have next weekend Europe. We do it all over again with the best in that part of the world. Team Secret looking to go for the Grand Slam, trying to win in every single season. Can they do it with the likes of G2 Esports, SK Gaming, Mouse Sports, Gangstar, and more, trying to knock them off their pedestal? It's going to be incredible next weekend as well. Don't miss that. And for now, I'm Playoff Beard. Hey, everybody, on 3, let's give it a big Vainglory. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you very much. We'll see you next weekend for the European Summer Championships. Goodbye.
help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes. This day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.